Have you ever felt like something's just not quite right in your story? You're not quite aligned with what you're supposed to be doing. You have like this idea that you might be wanting to pursue, or maybe you're going down a route that just doesn't really fit with you, and you have that deep down feeling that it should be different. This is not why you're here. This is not what you were destined to be. This is you veered off course, and now you need to figure out what that is. Like, how do you get back on track? What's that feeling how do you pursue that deep down calling that you're supposed to be doing? Totally, I get it. I've been there, and I definitely relate to feeling that need to make a change, that feeling to really step in, to pick up the pen and be the author of your story. And for me, that moment of really committing to that journey came when my grandfather passed away. This was about 5 years ago, and it was this moment where I'd come back from traveling, and I was trying to figure out my path. I had a great awakening. I felt so inspired by life, but I came back and just was uninspired. I was trying to figure out a new life in a new city. I had moved from Austin to San Diego, and things just weren't clicking, and I was like, what is going on? And that's when I actually spray painted Live a Great Story on the wall, and for the second time. And people had started taking pictures of it, but I still just wasn't sure. I felt like I was floating. I wasn't really pursuing things. I had this idea for Live a Great Story, but it was just kind of floating there. And so, and at that point, I got a call from my mom. She's like, hey, your granddad's in the hospital, and it's pretty serious. So we went to Houston, and it was this very emotional experience of, my epic grandfather who was almost larger than life. We actually shared the same name, so my middle name is his last name, so I always felt this connection to him. And he had just gotten sick, and very quickly everything just kind of fell apart, and he ended up passing away. And it was just this surreal moment when it was almost like this transition of energy that I felt just got passed along from him to me on this journey. And so I felt this calling to, I had Live a Great Story, people were like liking it, and it felt like there was some momentum, but I hadn't committed to it. And so when my grandfather passed away, I just felt this rush of energy, of heritage, of duty to take what I had been building with Live a Great Story and to really push it as far as I could. I knew that it had energy, I knew it had potential, but I wasn't sure what that looked like. And so when he passed away, that's when I made the commitment. I could just feel this rush, and I was like, I'm gonna build Live a Great Story until I cannot anymore, until I literally have given it every single ounce of energy that I can. And I just felt this duty to like step into that. And so a couple of days later, we were at his funeral, and it was this like surreal moment where my phone started blowing up. Like it was on vibrate. It was towards the end of the funeral session, and it just was like blowing up. And I was like, what is going on? So I walk outside of the ceremony, and I open my phone, and all my friends, girlfriends actually, and my friends had texted me that Reese Witherspoon had just taken a picture next to the Live a Great Story in New Orleans. And it was almost like this crazy sign from the universe of like, you committed to this. This is a reassurance, keep going. And that moment of my grandfather passing away, stepping into that ownership, and then Reese Witherspoon sharing this picture of just like cementing this route of like, you're onto something, keep going. And it was an amazing thing that really at that moment where I committed to it, that I really started down this route. And ever since that day, that was about 5 years ago now, I've just been trying to figure out how to best use Live a Great Story, my superpowers, the impact of these simple words to make the biggest impact possible. And through this journey, I've learned one key lesson that has stood up above everything else that is the most impactful. And I'm gonna share that with you in the next video. So definitely click through, check it out. And I can't wait to share this one lesson that I think is the biggest thing that I've learned for myself, and then through talking with thousands of people over the last couple of years of growing Live a Great Story.